Well, billions of people are keeping an eye on the roof of the Sistine Chapel. That's because smoke from its chimney, expected in the coming hours, will signal the result of the first ballot to choose a new pope.
Yeah, 133 cardinals locked inside the chapel for the papal conclave are deciding who will be the next leader of the Catholic Church. And they've been offered what's known as the College of Cardinals report. It's supposed to help them get to know one another better. That's what its creators are saying, adding that it was compiled by, quote, independent journalists and researchers.
The report profiles about 40 papal candidates and looks at where they stand on various church topics, including same-sex blessings and contraception.
CNN's Christopher Lamb is live for us outside St. Peter's Square. So the voting is underway right now in the Sistine Chapel, where 133 cardinals are gathered. We're waiting to see who gets more than 2/3 of the vote. Walk us through where we are in the process, because it's likely to take a couple of days, at least.
Yes, I mean, this conclave is very unpredictable. We don't know how long it is going to take, but the thing is, there are so many cardinals from different parts of the world, around 70 countries represented, and we don't know how they're going to decide who should be the next pope, because it's so unpredictable given these different nationalities, different viewpoints, but it's clear that there is a front runner that some cardinals want, that is Cardinal Pietro Parolin. And it was very interesting today that in the homily for a mass for the election of the Pope, Cardinal Ray, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, appeared to indicate that he is supporting Parolin. During the sign of peace, it was notable that he embraced Cardinal Ray warmly, as if to sort of say, have courage. And the homily that Cardinal Ray gave, whilst it was warm about some of the things that Francis has stood for, didn't mention Pope Francis once. Some people seeing that as a very clear signal from Cardinal Ray for the cardinals to go in a certain direction. However, there is of course the saying that he who enters a conclave as Pope leaves as a cardinal. Often the front runners fall away. There are lots of potential candidates and an outsider could emerge. The vote tonight is crucial. This vote, which we're not expecting to be decisive at all, but this vote will show where the support lies. It's a kind of moment where people can put their cards on the table. How many votes will the front runners get? Will other candidates receive a certain number of votes and then make cardinals think, well, perhaps I could support him? This is how I think the dynamics are going to work in the conclave. No one is expecting white smoke tonight. Of course, white smoke indicates that a pope has been elected. We are expecting it to be black smoke. And there is talk that this conclave could go on for longer than other conclaves because of the new dynamics, because of the fact the cardinals don't know each other as well as in the past. The cardinals have been wearing name badges when they've been meeting in the run-up to the conclave. Having said that, there have been meetings in the Vatican, big assemblies in recent years where cardinals have come together. Those have been moments where they have been able to get to know each other. It's basically a very unpredictable, wide open race here. Of course, the cardinals are sequestered away in the Casa Santa Marta, where they're staying during the election period, and of course in the Sistine Chapel. We just saw the dramatic moment when the Master of Ceremonies closes the door and says, everybody out. The cardinals are sequestered away. They can't have any electronic devices, iPads, phones, any other materials or any other access, to news sites. They have to focus on the election of the Pope. And this really is an unpredictable and wide open conclave, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it develops in the coming days.
It was fascinating to watch. I mean, an 800-year-old tradition unfolding in this modern era, and that being televised for viewers to see at home was quite something. Christopher, Politico is reporting that some of the new cardinals, as you noted, so many of them are newly appointed and had been newly appointed by Pope Francis himself, were so unfamiliar with the process that they actually did watch the film Conclave to get a better sense of what to expect. Can you just talk about that phenomenon and how these new cardinals would prepare for something so significant?
Yes, well, I mean, a lot of the new cardinals, they come from parts of the world that have never had cardinals before. A number of them have not studied or lived in Rome. They don't have an understanding of how the Vatican work, so they're kind of outsiders to the system. Of course, Conclave, the movie, has generated a lot of interest, intense interest around the real life conclave. There are some things that Conclave, the movie, gets right, details about where the cardinals stay, some of the dramatic debates and tensions that take place. But I think if the cardinals were looking to prep for the conclave, the movie would only give them part of the picture. The conclave is really, at its heart, a spiritual process. They go into the Sistine Chapel and they cast their votes in front of the fresco of by Michelangelo of the Last Judgment. They put them into an urn and they go back to their seat and they wait for them to be read out. It is very much a sort of liturgical, spiritual process done in complete silence, as one cardinal told me. There's no small talk or no gossiping. It's just a question of processing up and placing their vote like that. So this is a spiritual process as well as a kind of human political one, and perhaps Conclave, the movie, misses that spiritual element to it.
It is a fantastic movie, I have to say. It's part of my prep. I watched it last night, too.
We were talking about that
Yes,
yesterday.
exactly. All right, Christopher Lamb, obviously nothing replaces being there and your expertise in this field, and you'll be covering this process for us in the days and hours to come. Thank you so much.
Bishop Robert Barron joins us now. He's the founder of Word on Fire, and Father Sam Sawyer is also with us. He's a Jesuit priest and the president and editor-in-chief at America Media. It's nice to have both of you with us. Father Sawyer, well, you're both there live in Rome. Just set the scene for us today. We have been working up to this moment. It was so dramatic. We were watching earlier as those doors were closed. What is it like there as this conclave gets underway, and now it is a waiting game for the smoke?
Sure, you know, there's been a spirit of prayer here in the square. So even just before those doors closed, there were people gathered in the square watching on the big screens as each of the cardinals took an oath, laid his hands on the Bible, and there was a real sense of praying with the cardinals as they were doing that. A little bit before that, we had the Litany of the Saints sung, people in the square singing and praying along. So really a sense of prayer, and now I think a real sense of excitement as the crowds have filled in and are waiting for the first smoke of this conclave.
No doubt. They are there with so much anticipation. And Bishop Barron, this we should note, this group of cardinals is one of the most diverse in the church's history. Pope Francis appointed more than 20 cardinals from nations that had never previously had one, nearly all of them from developing countries. How could that impact who they're going to select as their next leader?
I think it'll have a big impact. I mean, first of all, as many have said, they don't know each other as well, and they've now spent several days, I think, getting to know each other better. But also you've got representation from places that never had cardinals, and, you know, who knows, the Pope may come from Asia, may come from Africa for the first time, which I would find very exciting. So I think it sets up a very interesting conclave.
We're watching people excited. They're praying the rosary, they're waving at cameras as they are getting ready for some kind of show. They're not sure what it'll be. But Father Sawyer, we heard Cardinal Ray in his homily this morning stressing this need for unity in the church and also fostering communion. How do you take those messages? How do you think the cardinals may have received those words?
You know, I think unity, communion, those have been words that have been in conversation a lot for the last week and a half here in Rome. The little bit we've heard about what the cardinals have been speaking about in general congregation, those themes have been strong. One of the things, you know, last October, Pope Francis gave a Wednesday audience where he talked about how the church is moved to unity by the Spirit in two ways, both going out to embrace everyone and also being gathered back in to become one. And so I think in the interplay between those two, that's really where the cardinals are trying to discern as they're voting in conclave.
Bishop Barron, in terms of the general congregation, the meetings leading up to this moment, each of those conversations is going to have an influence on the decisions that are made, on what is happening in the conclave there. Give us a better sense of what some of those themes, what some of those priorities may be, what we know about that.
You know, I think those conversations will have a big impact. And that's where, in some ways, the action takes place. As Father was saying, the conclave itself is more like a liturgy. It's a very prayerful exercise. There's not debate going on. But all that happened now in the days leading up to this moment. And the impression I got from talking to some folks, they're pretty frank, pretty direct. Some of the issues, I think evangelization, especially in the West, where there's so much disaffiliation from the churches. But go to the African continent, where the church is burgeoning, but is also under great persecution. Go to Asia, and you have a lot of questions around the interreligious dialogue. So the church is such a global reality that we have to look at it through multiple lenses. And I think that's what was happening during those general congregations.
And Bishop, is there any chance that we could actually see a pope selected with this vote coming up here, or would you say absolutely not?
I would say it's close to no chance. It's possible. But you know, the first ballot actually is a very important moment because we've talked about names, they've talked about themes. For the first time, they're going to sense exactly who are the candidates.